Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Ages Kingdom, and in this class I would like to discuss regarding anatomy, physiology, digestive system, and from that I am going to explain the stomach and repeatedly asked question in even in the GNM and BSc. Describe or explain about the digestive system and write in detail about stomach. So this is a very important question for 15 marks and for 10 marks for GNM, and they may ask, say, when I want to speak about the stomach, it is an anatomical description of the stomach. Usually when you see, it is look like J shape of the stomach is J shape, and it is completely muscular organ. It's completely muscular organ, and it can be dilated. And when you see the image, you can understand one big curve like is there and one small curve is there, that we call it as a big curve, we call it as a greater curvature, and the small curve we call it as a lesser curvature. And the stomach is having two openings. Upper portion is connected with the esophagus. This portion we call it as a cardiac portion, and lower portion is connected with pylorus area. Lower portion is connected with small intestine. The area we call it as a pyloric sphincter. And when you see the stomach in the anatomical view, it is anterior surface, and back of the stomach we call it as a posterior surface. So overall I have discussed three things. Curvatures of the stomach is 2, greater curvature and lesser curvature. Two openings of the stomach is 2, that is which is connected to esophagus, cardiac sphincter, and which is connected to the small intestine in the lower end. It is called it as a pyloric sphincter. So and other things, anterior portion and posterior portion. So when it comes to parts of the stomach, it is divided into fundus. See, you can see the image here. Upper portion is called it as a fundus, and middle portion is called it as a body, and lower portion is called it as a pyloric antrum, or we can say pyloric sphincter or canal, which is connected to the small intestine. These are the parts of the stomach. The fundus portion of the stomach is connected to esophagus, and middle portion we call it as a body, and the lower portion we call it as a pyloric canal. These are the parts of the stomach. And when you see the parts of the stomach, the fundus of the dome shaped or projects upward and to the left to the cardiac orifice. Already I said it is usually full of gas. And body means the middle portion between the fundus and the lower portion of pyloric sphincter, that portion is called as a body. And pyloric antrum means it is extending from the insula angularis to the pylorus. And pylorus, already I said, it is a sphincter working like a gate in between body and antrum and pylorus. These are the parts of the stomach. When you want to see muscles of the stomach, this is another one I am discussing. Parts are completed, and muscles of the stomach, if you want to see the muscles which are in this direction, that's called it as a oblique muscles. And some muscles are in a circular area, and some are like longitudinal direction. This is a different types of muscles are existing in the stomach. Because of this only we will have a peristaltic movements even in the stomach also, and these muscles are helping for the mixing of the food with hydrochloric acid and helps to expel food from stomach to small intestine. So there are three types of oblique muscles, circular muscles, and the longitudinal muscles. So already curvatures I told you. When you want to speak about the stomach curvatures, the big one which is on the lateral side we call it as a greater curvature, and the middle one where we have a curve, small less curve, that is called it as a lesser curvature. Let's call it as a lesser curvature. So when we speak about here, we can understand it's a lesser curvature is a right border of the stomach, whereas greater curvature is a longer than the lesser curvature and extending from the left of the cardiac orifice. Call it as a peritoneal cavity, which is covering the abdominal organs, which is connecting the abdominal organs. So you can see the lateral portion of the body we call it as a greater curvature, and the lesser portion is towards the medial aspect of the area. So what are the openings of the stomach? Already I said two openings are there. One is connected to esophagus. It is a long tube-like structure connecting from the pharynx to stomach, which is allowing for the passage of the food. And whereas second one is called pyloric orifice. It is formed between the lower end of the stomach to the small intestine, so which is about 1 inch, or we can say 2.5 centimeters long. The circular muscle coat of the stomach is much thicker here and forms a anatomic pyloric sphincter. And what are the walls of the stomach? Means the layers of the stomach. So outermost layer we call it as a serosa, that is consisting of layers of the connective tissue continues with the peritoneum. Serosa, the outermost layer, and middle layer is called muscular layer or muscular wall. Already when we speak about the muscular wall, I have discussed three muscular muscles types are there, that is oblique, longitudinal and circular. So these three muscles are present in the muscular layer, and innermost layer is called it as a mucous membrane. So there are three layers of the stomach or walls of the stomach. The outermost one is called it as a serosa, which is formed with a peritoneum. Middle layer is called it as a muscular wall, which is having a longitudinal fiber and longitudinal, circular and oblique fibers, and innermost